Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. Jeff, how the hell are you doing?
Not too bad. Should be a good match here. We got an interesting one. I'm feeling good. We're into February at this point. It's kind of chills coming off the air. So, should be good stuff here.
Where did you come up with this match?
I don't even know where I found this one. It's weird because, I take that back. I was looking through some kind of lists late last year of just like dark matches that are available and out there. Not like shitty kind of, home camcorder type match, but there's a lot of dark matches that kind of flew under the radar that, maybe they were recorded for like this one, like a random kind of show and like a DVD or something like that. Like even I was struggling to get a ton of information on this one and kind of when it was recorded. It happened. The show happened. I have the card, and there wasn't a lot that happened, but and I feel like it may have been combined with something else, and so, but I couldn't. There's not a ton out there, which I'm okay with, but this was on a list of dark matches, if we want to call it that kind of stood out as some of the best matches ever. And it's kind of weird. You're like, man, I don't remember the Steiner brothers taking on the Hart brothers. Like, when the hell did that happen? Well, it was this random kind of, show in 1994 in Virginia or wherever we're at, or South Carolina rather. So it's just weird to kind of have this one, but there's footage of the entire match out there, so why not? Like it just an unusual one, but should be a pretty good one at the same time.
Yeah, it's funny. I'll tell you one I just came across the other day on the WWE Vault was a match. I think it was in Japan with Tajiri and Triple H. Man, it was an awesome match. Dark match. It wasn't professionally recorded or anything for any show or whatever. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I guess this was part of a WrestleFest '94 taping, and we had some matches that were recorded over a 2-night period. We'll get into it, but. Man, I'm pretty pumped to cover this one. Just the Steiner brothers in general. I'm pretty pumped to cover.
Yeah, absolutely. Just one of those random ones. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
So, from what I can tell, there were a couple of nights where matches were recorded for a tape called WrestleFest 1994. Does that sound right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so
that's what I got.
We got some like dark matches, and then we've got some superstar tapings. I mean, it's kind of hard to keep track of this, but from what I've gathered, January 11th of 1994. We're in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and of course, we're at the Cumberland County Civic Center. So we have a Superstars taping. We've got some Mania matches. We've got some matches for WrestleFest 94. Okay, all kinds of stuff. Yep. We've got stuff that showed up on bloopers, bleeps, and body slams, if you can believe that.
Yeah.
So
okay.
We're all over the place here. Randy Savage and Crush are going to do a best 2 out of 3 falls match. Razor Ramon's going to defend his IC championship against Ludwig Borga. Tatanka is going to defeat Yokozuna via disqualification. Randy Savage gets involved in that. We're taping the opening clip for WWF Mania, which wouldn't air until the end of February. So we're recording stuff that's a month out. We got some pre-tape comments from Jack Tunney. We're building to WrestleMania 10. Men on the Mission win a squash match. Sparky Plug's going to defeat the Brooklyn Brawler. This is Sparky Plug, who was obviously Bob Holly's debut.
Yep.
Diesel's going to win a squash match. Tatanka's going to win a squash match. Jeff Jarrett's going to win a squash match. The Head Shrinkers are going to win a squash match. We get Shawn Michaels winning a squash match. The 1-2-3 Kid and Marty Jannetty are going to win a squash match. Quang is going to win a squash match. Rick and Scott Steiner are going to go to a 10-minute time limit draw against the Quebecers. Doink the Clown's going to win a squash match. Crush is going to win a squash match. Bam Bam Bigelow's going to win a squash match. The Bushwhackers are going to win a squash match. Ludwig Borga is going to win a squash match. And then Randy Savage is going to pin Rick Martel, which would be part of WrestleFest 1994. So think about this, Jeff. If you were at this show, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 matches.
Yeah.
Can you imagine sitting through 18 matches? That sounds like the last AEW pay-per-view.
I was going to say, yeah, you get 6 hours on your hand. Like, I guess it wasn't that bad because they were 2-3 minute matches, but still, like, yeah, that's a lot.
And I won't go through the next night, but it's kind of the same thing. January 12th in Florence, South Carolina, at the Florence Civic Center. So now, of course, we start off with a Wrestle Challenge match with Shawn Michaels defeating Bret Hart via DQ. After all these squash matches, there's a Shawn Michaels Bret Hart match in all of this. We get Marty Jannetty and the 1-2-3 Kid defeating the Head Shrinkers. Then we get this match that we're going to cover, which, again, I guess made its way to WrestleFest 94 and was actually on Heart and Soul, the Hart Family Anthology. We get Lex Luger and Ludwig Borga. We get Yokozuna and The Undertaker.
Sure.
Then we get a bunch of squash matches: Sparky Plug, Adam Bomb, the Bushwhackers, Ludwig Borga, the Head Shrinkers, and Quang. Then we get a Doink, the Clown and Bam Bam Bigelow match, Diesel, Crush, Men on the Mission in squash matches, Tatanka, Rick Martel, Bushwhackers, Shawn Michaels, and Sparky Plug, all in squash matches.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you were there, it'd be a lot of fun. I mean, think about this. You're at some random show in South Carolina, and you've got Sean Brett, you've got Bret and Owen against the Steiner brothers, you got Yokozuna and The Undertaker. Pretty wild,
random, man.
Yeah,
just the most random stuff.
Yeah.
But hey, that's all right.
So I don't think we ever got these guys on like a major show, but is there anything that led us to this match?
Yeah,
and I know we're in the Bret Owen phase where we're going to get to WrestleMania 10 with those two.
Yeah, like I said, there really wasn't a ton. You had so many other storylines kind of happening in this one that, kind of, they were a little bit with Owen, which we'll get into in the aftermath, but kind of, the biggest part is that, we'll start with the Steiners on this point. You had this taking place was January 11th, 1994. You want to go back to Survivor Series. You had the Steiners teaming with Lex Luger and The Undertaker as the All-Americans, defeating the Foreign Fanatics, Yokozuna, Crush, Ludwig Borgia, and Jacques Rougeau. And so Luger ended up being the sole survivor on that one. The Hart family, at the same time, this was that kind of weird when things were being taped where you had the Bret Owen kind of, feuding a little bit, but then, we know that timeline, then they weren't on TV, but then you also had the Survivor Series, the Shawn Michaels substituting for Jerry Lawler and the Knights, which was just unusual. unusual. And so you had Owen blaming Bret at that point. And so you had that storyline kind of going on between the two of them. But then you get this match in like them working together. Maybe why it was a dark match at this point, but and kind of dealing with that. And so it just, like I said, they weren't really, as I like to say, in each other's universes. They just kind of, they were the tag teams at the time, and you get this this show. And so I want to point out, you may, as we're kind of listening, we might hear an unusual voice, of course, one being Gorilla Monsoon, but the other name you might hear is Stan Lane is working commentary on this one. And so he's one of the voices that you may hear as well too doing this. And so and of course, done it in different places, wrestler as well too. So that's it. Kind of unusual, but there you go.
I'm excited for this one, man. I haven't watched a lot of Steiner Brothers stuff, but it's like I feel like they were just badasses in the ring. So I'm excited to cover this one. We got this pulled up on Daily Motion. Jeff, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. It's time for the payoff.
Ho! It's time for the payoff.
Rick and Scott Steiner will take on the Hart brothers.
Bret and Scotty starting off.
Yep.
That is not Big Papa Pump in the ring.
It is not. No, that is Scott Steiner. A lot different. Yep.
Joey Morel is the ref. Hey, what do you think of AEW for Dynamite? Their theme being "I'm so excited."
Before we get, what's your timestamp? Mine buffered weird.
40 seconds.
Okay, got it.
45.
Got it. I'm with you.
Yeah. What do you think of that?
Terrible.
Like it's a cool song. I mean, you got Raw, and I know nothing about Travis Scott other than he's like super popular, right? You got Travis Scott doing the Raw song, and you got a song from before most people were alive. Now you may say, well, wait a second here. Saturday Night's Main Event was doing, that's a throwback. That's not your prime weekly show.
Yeah, recorded a whole new intro, had this whole thing. Like, I don't get it. Like, I wonder, like, they were like, oh, like, were they sitting around the table and like, they're, thought it was a good idea? Like, let's see here. Yeah, the most recent, moving forward with the Pointer Sisters song, despite online backlash. Like, it doesn't fit at all. Like with wrestling, like you said, it's a great song. Like, but it makes me think of like the movie Shrek, because we watched it not that long ago. Like, it makes no sense for why you would do that and try and have like this be what people like. I get it. It's cliche to say, well, what you want people to get excited about in using that song. Like, and I'm sure people are like, oh, who's Travis Scott? Like we said, like, it's just, you don't get psyched up about any of it. But I feel like so much about wrestling is music. Like, that gets lost. Like, who was it? Like the people who were doing terrible with it recently, like, and now nobody wanted them to be a part of it anymore. And so Def Rebel or whatever the hell it was. And so like bring back Jim Johnson. Like I know people our age, I don't know anyone that didn't at least own one of the WWE CDs, with all the theme songs and stuff like that. Like you could stream it all now, but like, again, I think it just proves this kind of weird. Tony Khan had the idea and thought this would be smart, and is he just yes men? Do people say no? Like, was there a boardroom full of people thinking like, yes, this is a good idea, or was it like the people at Max, like, like leadership by committee or something like that? It doesn't make any sense.
So you bring up something interesting, which is, I mean, you look at so many things that WWE did, both good and bad, over the years. that were simply Vince McMahon's personal taste.
Yes.
And again, it led to some of the best moments in the history of the business, and it led to some of the dumbest things that we ever watched too. So I think sometimes like it's as simple as Tony Khan thinks that this song is cool or that it's neat. Now, if it works, right? So like, think of like politics, right? You know, sometimes you listen to your advisors and you make a really bad mistake. Other times you follow your gut and you make a big mistake. This stuff is no different. And so I think, you know, AEW is what Tony Khan thinks is cool. And I really don't think it's any more complicated than that. Tony Khan paid millions of dollars of his father's money to Mercedes Moné because he liked her.
Yeah.
He thought she was a cool wrestler and she was really good. It's turned out that it might be the biggest financial bust in the history of professional wrestling. I don't think that much money has been spent on someone that has moved the needle less.
Yeah.
Okay. But the point I'm making is, you know, these things are him. Now, if his personal preferences reflect what people want, they can make a lot of money. But if they don't, they're going to find themselves in a world of hurt. And I think what's happening is AEW is producing storylines and a product that Tony Khan really thinks is cool. And not many other people do.
Yep.
And that doesn't, it's, there's nothing wrong with that. It's his money. It's his sandbox. He can do whatever he wants. Just like Vince McMahon could do whatever he wants too. But Hulk Hogan resonated with millions and millions and millions of people. Darby Allin does not.
Right.
I think Tony thinks it's cool as shit. I think he thinks that the TV they're producing, I think he loves it. It's just not translating to the masses. Millions of people are not saying, hey, this show is really good and I want to watch it. So it's that simple. I mean, does AEW suck? No, it doesn't.
No.
But it's not appealing to a large number of people. And it's appealing to less and less people. And I think that song, while it's just one stupid little example, it's a great example. Millions of people are not like, oh, that's a really cool song and that gets me energized for, and it doesn't match. It's like, well, you want to be gritty, wrestling, blood, cheese graters, Mox breaking glass, like you want to be that. Then be that.
I don't know if you saw the report recently too, where the Young Bucks said they intentionally, heat, whatever, trying to get heat, trying to kayfabe, whatever, but they said they intentionally booked themselves into like bad matches to like generate heat on themselves.
Okay.
And go ahead. Yep.
So to me, and I want your take on this, to me, this is the inmates running the asylum.
Yep.
Just the other day, I heard Kurt Angle
NWO.
say,
Yep.
I heard Kurt Angle say, TNA was my favorite place to work because we got to do whatever we wanted.
Yeah.
However, I think it hurt the product because guys were doing whatever they wanted. And some guys were doing stuff that didn't draw money. Some guys were doing stuff that had already been done earlier on the show, but because there were no agents and there were no writer's room, we had no idea what the hell was going on. So then they get blasted on the internet because, oh, there's 3 DQ finishes, or, oh, this makes no sense. It's the same thing happening in AEW. You know, Edge loves AEW. You know why Cope loves AEW? Because he can do whatever the hell he wants, and he's making millions of dollars. And he gets to hang out with his buddies and go, hey, guys, we should do this. Hey, guys, we should do that. You can't run a company doing Cope. That. You can't run a company. I want to be called Cope. You know what the writers in WWE would have said? That's the stupidest idea we've ever heard. You're not calling yourself Cope. And he would have been upset, but the writers would have been right. Triple H would have been right. You get protected from yourself. Oh, and guess what? Edge wouldn't have been able to jump off a cage feet first in WWE because they protect them from themselves. So you bring up the Young Bucks. Guess what? You wrestling boring matches on purpose is really funny. And it's something that driving down the street with your brother, you say, hey, what if we wrestled boring matches on purpose? How cool would that be? And Jeff, from a creative standpoint, that's fun. That's interesting. It's different. I get it. Here's the problem. The problem is in the real world, someone is paying you hundreds of millions of dollars to develop compelling television. And you're losing viewers because you're letting these guys come up with ideas that are really creative and really fun when you're driving them around the car to think about, but they don't draw money. They don't draw viewers. Is the purpose of a wrestling company for talent to scratch their creative itch, or is it to draw money? That's the problem, Jeff. You go to everyone at Google and you say, hey guys, don't worry about making money around here. Just do whatever fun shit you want to do. Guess what? They'd lose a bunch of money because they'd stop worrying about being profitable. That's what happens in these wrestling companies. Oh, TNA is so fun. AEW is so fun. Jeff, we don't have to run ideas by Vince or Triple H. We can do whatever we want. Oh, it's so fun. Guess what? Those companies all lose viewers. You ever notice that? What are the companies that let the talent do whatever they want? WCW, TNA, AEW, a bunch of other companies you've never heard of because they're out of business. And who's left? The company with a fucking adult in the room or adults in the room. They have writers. They have match agents. They have a head booker. They have a CEO. They're a real company. So this AEW thing, I know the talent loves it. Mercedes Moné is having the time of her life because she doesn't have to answer to anyone. She can do whatever she wants. And guess what happens? You can hear a pin drop during her promos because no one's writing them and they suck.
Well, and I think back to which this has been a great match, by the way. We're kind of moving slow. We're methodical. Everybody's doing a really good job on this one. Yeah. But I think back to look at all the wrestlers that went to AEW, whether in a backstage role or an on-camera role, who are now coming over to WWE. Like Mark Henry left. You had DDP showed back up in WWE. You had these guys that, the grass isn't always greener type thing. And I get it. Are we the marks that shit on AEW all the time? No, I don't think so, because I want them to be successful. But when we've seen it, one guy is calling the shots. Yeah, if Edge was still in WWE and he went to Vince, I was like, I want to be called Cope. I bet you Vince would have said yes. But on the flip side, and it's what Tony Khan did. But then also be hey, let's talk about, is that really the smartest thing? Like you said, the comparison I saw recently was, of course, the Jeff Jarrett retirement tour. And that's the one that, you probably saw recently, is they're trying to do this comparison with John Cena where, Cena's on his retirement tour. You got Jeff Jarrett re-signing and he's on his retirement tour. And Jarrett says he's going after the world title. Does anybody really want to see Jeff Jarrett at the top of the card in AEW? This is hands down, are we building young stars? Nope. Like, we are not. Like, do I think Cena will make a run for it? Yeah, probably. But you don't need to explicitly come out and tell me John Cena is going to go for his 17th world title. Like, leave an air of mystery to it, because now what, I got 12 months of Jeff Jarrett and whether or not he's going to win the title, and he's going to win it.
You're also you're ripping off. So think about this. WWE has a story for, at worst, one of their top 5 stars of all time.
Yep.
Okay, at worst. Even if you hate John Cena, I hate his shtick, 5 Moves of Doom, goofy PG era, he's still top 5 all time. End of story. It's just there is nothing to debate. That is a fact. He is top 5 all time. Okay. He comes in and says, I'm doing 1 year retirement. He hasn't come out, at least as we're recording this, and said he's going for the title, but I'm sure he is. That'll be part of the story. AEW, after that has already been established, decides they're going to rip off the story. And even if they're not trying to rip it off, it's a rip off. Now, Jeff, they're ripping it off with the 478th biggest star in the history of pro wrestling.
Right.
Jeff's a hell of a nice guy. He's been
Great
sober
wrestler.
for a number of years. He seems like he's a good person. He's a nice guy. He's not even, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, but so are 500 other guys. He's a nobody. And so you're going to rip this storyline off with Jeff Jarrett? It's so lame.
Yeah, it doesn't make a ton of sense. And that's okay. So if you had to name, and again, we got a lot of rest holds at this point too. Steiner kind of falling. That was good actually. The ref checking the ropes, but or checking the arm, but he was so close that Steiner fell over onto the ropes, and so that kind of breaks the hold, which was an interesting way to do it. If you had to name what are the big stories in AEW right now, and you and I is at best like kind of tertiary viewers, like we're on the side, like it's the Mercedes Moné stuff. I know the Jeff Jarrett stuff. I think the Undisputed has reformed, like Adam Cole and all them and stuff like that. But that's it. Like, I don't know what MJF is doing, which I should, as a wrestling fan. I know Darby Allin's trying to kill himself, but again, don't know that. Like, I don't know what Mox is doing. Like, I don't know what's going on there. Like, there's just so much of this that I don't get it. And so, okay, like, they're New Japan, like same with Okada. Okada was the biggest star in the planet at New Japan, and now like I don't know what he's doing. Like I know Kenny Omega back and stuff like that, so it's like okay, but like I feel like we got our Kenny Omega Okada matches, and so I don't need that again. Like it's just I have no desire to watch it every week. And I get like they're on Max now, so they've got the bonus subscribers to that, and they're still working out some kinks and all of that, but it just again, I'm not excited to sit down on whatever night of the week it is, Wednesday and whenever else, and watch myself some AEW. It's just not going to happen.
Man, I loved Owen.
So again, working technical at this point. You got Bret in the ring, kind of working with Rick, kind of working real stiff. Both guys love the singlet too, the kind of leopard neon print for the Steiners there. Always great stuff. Yeah, Bret and Owen. Owen looks great too. Yep. Tagging in Scott with the long flowing hair, of course. We're kind of waiting on Owen for the hot tag here, but yeah, they've wrestled it technical, kind of wrestled it not too stiff, but it was a little slow at some point, but still good stuff so far. Yep.
It's funny. It was someone was pumping up AEW, and they're like, "Oh, well, they're getting $3.6 million a week for their new TV deal." And I'm like,
I
man,
don't believe
I
that
hate
number.
to.
I don't believe that number. Yep.
Well, okay, I don't either. All right, because and again, Eric Bischoff has mentioned one example, which is they put in-kind value in there. So Jeff, it would be like saying, hey, we're gonna do a bunch of promotion for you. So we're gonna promote your shows across all of our channels. We're gonna run a bunch of commercials. And the value of those commercials over the course of our 5-year deal or whatever, however many years this is, let's just say per year. Per year, we're going to run $20 million of commercials for you. So they're claiming that deal is 20 million, but it's not. AEW is not receiving 20 million. AEW is receiving a bunch of commercials on TV. So that's where the value of the deal and the money being transferred to AEW are two different things. That has to be going on here. But even if you said that's not the case, that's a lie. Okay. Well, I'm going to trust people that work in TV that say that's the deal, that I'm going to assume that's part of the deal. But let's say it's not. So 3.6 million a week. Well, what do you think their overhead is a week? To produce these shows, to pay Edge and Mercedes Moné and everyone else. I mean, you're conservatively, you're probably at the better part of $1 million to bring all the TV trucks, set up the ring, and produce television per show. And you're doing that twice a week. And then you're paying the talent, and you're paying the front office. I mean, what's left?
Yeah, I don't know.
What's your timestamp? They may be breaking even, but and again, does it really matter? Like does it really matter whether they're making money or losing money if they're losing viewers? To me, it's like, oh, who cares about TV ratings? Well, if we don't care about TV ratings and we don't care about attendance, oh, they have a great TV deal. Okay, so your argument is this entertainment company has less people watching it, less people attending it. They're probably selling less T-shirts. They're probably selling less video games. That was a bomb. All that's happening.
Yeah.
But hey, we think they may have gotten a really big TV deal, so who cares?
Yeah, the TV deal is going to fix everything. Like, no.
It doesn't buy you viewers.
No.
If you're, and I'm not saying that their product sucks, but if your TV show sucks, okay, so Breaking Bad, it's really, really good. And then all of a sudden they come out with a new season and viewership's way down. People online are bashing it. Oh, but they just signed a new 4-year contract for more money than they've ever gotten. So who cares?
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, how are we measuring success here?
Well, for them, it's the paycheck. Like, it's not, it's just weird in that sense. Yeah.
The whole thing. But you understand my point? Is the whole thing's bizarre. It's like, okay, so I'm gonna ignore the fact that you can't draw 2,500 for a TV taping. I'm gonna ignore the fact that your TV ratings are way down. I'm gonna ignore the fact that people are kind of quietly saying that you're not taking care of the talent. And I love how people's best example is, oh, well, Cope loves working there. Of course he does. He gets to do whatever in the hell he wants. He's working part-time and he's making $5 million. I would tell you that Tony Khan is an incredible person if he were paying me $5 million a year to do whatever in the hell I want. I can wear whatever I want. I can wrestle however I want. I can book myself however I want. Greatest job in the world.
So I'm reading here. What's your timestamp, by the way? I've been doing some research and I kind of got slowed up, it looks like. 2310. Got it. Okay, perfect. Yep. But so this was 6 months ago, but I'm reading that this says AEW pays roughly 50, and this is from Meltzer, so grain of salt, of course. The AEW pays roughly 55% of their revenue to wrestler contracts in a year. And the number I'm seeing right here, 50. Okay. And that based on like some of the TV deals and playing into that, it could be more or less now. And it's also saying that it's roughly $100 million per year on wrestler contracts. Like, even if you say, okay, 50%, of their revenue is going toward wrestler salaries. From like, obviously I don't know, I watch a lot of wrestling. I know a little, that does not feel like a tenable situation to be successful, because that 50, even if you say it's 50%, that's a low number. Like, it's way more than that. I feel like anything over that is like you're losing money, because so much of your money is tied up in all these wrestler contracts, which seems ridiculous.
But here's the thing, like 100 million, absolutely. I mean, I totally buy that 100 to 150 million a year is going to talent. I mean, start adding it up. Mercedes, what's she at? 5?
Mm-hmm.
Edge is at 5. Young Bucks,
probably
5.
Wait, plus the VP salary.
Jericho, Omega, Sting, they're still paying him a bunch of money.
I'm pulling it up, yeah, because he's on that
Adam
Legends
Page,
contract.
MJF,
Jericho and Monet both getting paid over $5 million annually. Jericho started at 3. Okada at 4.5 million. Yeah.
Okay, I just named 10 people that are probably making $5 million each.
So there's 50. I mean, you're out of, and that's just us spitballing. Yeah, with us just spitballing names.
What are they paying Malachi Black? $1 million?
You can say $1 million.
What are they paying Miro? $1 million?
I think they released him, but anyways, yeah. No, it doesn't matter.
Okay,
yeah.
But I'm just saying. Then I'll name 20. I'll name 20
but
guys that aren't even on TV making $1 million each.
Yep.
On out. Well, I must agree with the Rocket. I'd like to see the match continue myself.
So would I.
Hey, Bret and Owen Hart, we came here to beat you. Get your butts back in this ring.
Oh. Wow, perhaps a little animosity brewing here. Things may break out now. Yes, it does. Both tempers are finally
all them out. Yep.
Referees are trying to break things up here. Ring. Yep. Oh my, this is just broken out into just like a barroom brawl.
4 referees inside the ring can't separate these 4. No way, shape, or form can they maintain control in this one.
All right, so we got a brawl. Yeah, I mean, but I think we just named, and again, I barely watched the product, and off the top of my head, I think I just got us to 70 million right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Okay.
Yep.
I mean, it's comical, and he's overpaying these guys. That's how he signs them. You think MJF took less money to stay?
And so, what do we got here? See, so currently, this is
we've got AEW a brawl here. By the way, are we gonna restart this match, or are we just are we gonna end it in this little melee?
We have some legends inside.
Young Patterson in there.
Trying to stop the Harts and the Steiners from beating each other to a pulp.
Rene Goulet looks like he's still in shape, doesn't he, Stan?
He looks good. Yes, he does. Tony Gurria as well.
Well, finally some semblance of order maintained here. I guess the Steiners have had enough.
All right, Steiners are frustrated. They're walking away.
So this says roughly 190.
Oh my!
Oh, they're coming back in.
Gasoline on the fire, and they're going at it again, tooth and nail.
And everybody coming back in. Look at Patterson. He's out of gas.
Pat Patterson is thinking twice about jumping in on that, trying to separate them. Boy, don't they catch an elbow in the...
All right, fun little brawl to end things. All right.
So the number I'm seeing is there's 190 people on AEW's roster. Figure that's just sign piece. So say 190, say 150 aren't getting big money contracts, leave you with about 50 million. So they're making 300 grand. Like, come on. Like the numbers just aren't lining up there.
So you said 150 are not on big money contracts.
That's a rough estimate.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would say the average of those contracts conservatively, I'm going to say is 350 a year.
Yeah. There's no, yeah.
That's
I think it's lower than that.
That's 52 million.
Yeah. There's just no way.
So you have your 150 that are making an average of 350, which I bet you is low. I bet you it's closer to $500,000. Okay.
Yep.
So let's call it somewhere between 50 to 75 million is going to small money contracts.
Yep.
And then you've got another 75 million going to big money contracts. You're at 150 million. If we're wrong, it's 125 million. That's right. Before production costs. That's before production people. That's before marketing.
I would guess our numbers are low. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that just, it makes no sense. Yep. All right. Okay. They're kind of wrapping up the brawl here. It looks like, we're coming to the end here. So put a bow on this. Got any final thoughts?
Nope. It was fun. I'm glad we covered it. And both teams being like their hands being raised. Now they're hugging. You'll get into what happens after this, but it was fun, man. Yep. I like it. Brothers versus brothers. Good match, man. Let's get into the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
All right, so what'd you think?
Yeah, it was pretty good, actually. Like, kind of watching it and, watching the technical side of the wrestlers. Like, the reviews are going to say here that Bret was actually the worst wrestler in the ring, which I think is interesting. And so, in 1994 at this point, but yeah, it's just, I thought it played out really well. I thought it was a good match. It was one of those. I'm glad we did include it because it was kind of really interesting. So, but kind of what happened here. So, again, the storyline here. Kind of, they kind of went back to what they were. And so you had the Rumble, you had Bret and Owen for the tag team champions. You had that match being stopped. You had Owen and Bret, of course, going back and forth on that one. You had Bret winning the Royal Rumble in '94 as well, too. And that kind of getting the title shot at WrestleMania 10, Yokozuna, all that stuff. And so that was what it was. It was fine. The Steiners on the flip side, they were both in the Royal Rumble, entering Scott entering at number 1, actually, and Rick at number 3, eventually eliminated by Owen, Hart, and Diesel. But then really they left the promotion in mid 1994. They were Scott was in a King of the Ring qualifying loss to IRS on Superstars of Wrestling. And so, didn't do a whole lot after this one. You figure this is one of their last big hurrahs, if you will. And so it was definitely interesting. So being what it was, PW, so 1994, you figure they had the whole year in front of them. You'll see from the write-ups here, or like I said, they said, some of the write-ups said Bret wasn't the best, but Bret ended up being number 1 in 1994. No surprise there. Owen Hart, number 10, Scott Steiner, 20, Rick Steiner 28. The only kind of write-up I could find on this one, because it was such a weird thing, was the Observer newsletter on this one. At the television tapings last week, a Coliseum video match was taped with the Hart brothers versus Steiner brothers that went to a double countout that was said to be the best WWF match in a long time. So it was good, but what are you going to rank this one?
I had it a 5. I mean, I just... and part of it, I think, is tag team wrestling has just evolved so much that at the time, like, I'm sure that this was a above average, like, tag match, but man, like, tag team wrestling, and I don't know when the shift was, probably in the last 7 years, give or take, right? But tag team wrestling has just been awesome. I mean, AEW and WWE, right? Like, just even on the indies, you see these tag teams come out and like they're really, really good. So some of these like older tag matches, I love the characters, right? I love Steiners and Harts and Demolition and Legion of Doom. But you watch these matches and they weren't good. And it's probably why they, were never like major draws, and it was the singles competitors were always the draws. What about you?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm going to do a 5.5. I thought it was pretty good, especially to see all these guys together. I think that's just kind of cool. I think that it's just, I wish we would have gotten more story with it. I wish we could have gotten just a little bit more, but it was still really good. Like for what it was, it's not going to, win any awards, obviously, but worth it to kind of go back and check this one out a little bit. So, yeah.
What do we have next week? Oh, I know we have next week. We have halftime heat.
Well, yeah, so celebrating the Super Bowl. Yes, we are being when it is. We are going to check out the halftime heat show. Of course, we got one recently in 2019 or 20, whenever it was. That was really good with NXT. But we're gonna go back to the OG halftime heat tomorrow. Or next week, excuse me.
Yeah, man, I'm pumped to cover it. There's a lot of fun stuff surrounding that match as well. So, well, we appreciate everyone listening, and we'll see you next week on a all-new halftime heat edition of The Payoff.